That's great. So, welcome, Pete Warnock.
Hello,
It's
thank you.
lovely to see you.
Yeah, lovely to be here again. This is my third Inspiration Festival. I absolutely love them. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Me too. In fact, I think it's my third too. Uh, and in other inspiration festivals, I've sat in your sessions, and I'm really looking forward to an opportunity to quiz you today. Um, so, um, the title of your session today is Bulletproof Breath, and I just wanted to ask you, um, what makes your breath bulletproof?
What makes my breath bulletproof? Bulletproof breathwork was I did a business course and marketing course a couple of years ago that absolutely fried me and took all of my savings, and didn't actually work as a kind of promotional something. But one of the things that came out of it was bulletproof breathwork. It was kind of they it was kind of it's it's a breathwork style that encompasses everything within breathwork. I mean, when you speak about breathwork, or when you hear about breathwork, when you see it advertised, that could mean anything. That could mean anything from functional breathing exercises, from lung stretches, from connected breathwork, through till pranayama and all sorts of things like that. And bulletproof breathwork encompasses all of that. And it was just a name that someone said, and it stuck. And I initially had a reaction to it, but I realized that within having a reaction to it, it intrigued me. And actually, when I've shared that, when people see it, they often have a reaction to it, whether that's a positive one or a negative one, but it's still landing somewhere. And it might intrigue them that at some point they might want to check it out. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting that, isn't it? Even if it triggers you, it's got your attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm.
and so maybe that marketing course wasn't a complete waste.
Well, who knows, hey? It sat me in front of a computer way too much, so I'm a touchy-feely kind of in the room person. And yeah, so
Mm.
mm.
So we're all about breath today and over the weekend. And just to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about your personal journey and how you came to the breath, how that initial journey began?
Yeah, well, my initial experience of breath, or conscious experience of breath, was in holding my breath, actually. I had an injury. I fell out of a tree and landed on a spike up through my perineum and scrotum up into my abdomen, and I couldn't breathe. Basically, I mean, it didn't go up as far as my diaphragm, but when we breathe, our perineum and our diaphragm are connected by fascia, and when you breathe, when basically the breathing diaphragm comes down, it pushes the organs down, which pushes the perineum down, the pelvic floor down. And in order to try and minimize the pain, I just froze and stopped breathing, and then had to build a relationship of learning to breathe with this pain. I mean, that particular injury didn't last that long, but then I had another injury where I nearly broke my back, and so my breath became incredibly important in managing pain. So yeah, and so that happened when I was 5. I'm 55 now, so I've had a conscious awareness of my breath for 50 years.
That's wow. That's an amazing introduction at a very young age, isn't it?
Yeah.
To that being consciously aware. Um, and what would your first kind of formal breathwork experience have been? What was your way into breathwork as a sort of a formalized taught methodology?
Yeah, well, when I was in my early 20s, I had a nervous breakdown, and I was a glass blower. So I had to, with glass blowing, glass blowing is very much about refining breath, you know, very soft, slow. You have to be incredibly accurate with your breath. I was made redundant and then realized that I didn't actually have a formal qualification after 7 years. And my house was repossessed and I had a nervous breakdown. And to get off antidepressants, a friend of mine said, you need to come to yoga and come to meditation classes. So I started going to meditation classes and yoga classes and remembered the breath. And within the meditation and within the yoga, really started to fall in love with the simplicity of breath and realized that what I'd been refining in the glass blowing really brought a huge amount of benefit when I started to explore the fineness of breath. And I'm incredibly dyslexic. I'm incredibly Virgo. I like details, you know, and I dive into details. And in meditation, I would just follow a tiny little thread of my breath and just see where it could take me. And then I did a vivation session, which was conscious connected breathing. Tom Granger has taken on the whole vivation thing now. He's trying to kind of revamp vivation again, but it was basically rebirthing, you know. It was basically conscious connected breath work, and I did a session of that, and that was just utterly mind-blowing, you know, absolutely. And I just started exploring and learning and training and doing what I could wherever I could.
It's fascinating. I didn't know that you'd been that come from that glass blowing background.
Yeah.
And that refinement of breath to that, you know, that real awareness of how you can utilize breath in a different context.
Yeah, absolutely.
Must
I
be.
mean, it's incredible actually the fineness that you have to use when you're, I mean, the glass blowing that I did was, I was a scientific instrument maker. So I made scientific instruments out of quartz glass. And we had a little burner and we'd heat up the glass and we'd blow in there and do all sorts of things with it, but also we would often join tubes together and join things, and you had to become incredibly, your hands had to learn to become like a lathe, and so you would be spinning and twisting this glass and then turning it whilst you're twisting it, and then do this tiny little breath in, and depending on how the breath was depended on how the glass would move, you know. So it was an amazing, I hadn't really clocked just what a skill that was until I started doing the meditation and then started exploring all of the sort of things. When I was creating my bulletproof breathwork training, I had to kind of pull apart everything that I've done within breath, and realize that I've got an incredibly unique viewpoint on breathing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you've had this early awareness from the age of 5 following your accident, and then you know, pursued a career that took you into a refinement of the breath, and then further illness that kind of opened you up to those possibilities. So it seems like it's sort of at every point you've encountered a reintroduction to the breath and breath work. So obviously breath means a lot to you. Tell us, what does the breath mean to you?
For me, okay, so to frame this piece, I'll also say that I'm a Tantra teacher. I teach sacred intimacy, and Tantra is basically, it's a spiritual pathway to awakening, to opening up into deeper levels of yourself as spirit, as life, as the energy of creation. And within this, breath, I see, is our primary lover. I see breath is our primary everything. Breath is the bridge that, I mean, we are being breathed. We often see ourselves as doing the breath, and yes, we instigate the kind of the action of it, but the breath itself is it's holy. It's spirit entering the body. You know, it animates absolutely everything. And I see that we are all, us human beings, animals, plants, everything, we are all being breathed by spirit, by God, by whatever the name you want to call that. And this is this is my love of breath, you know, being a part of this, and yes, driving it to some degrees to get particular outcomes, but also just totally surrendering into it and letting myself be breathed by this greater something, you know. And the relationship between myself and my breath and myself and everyone else. But first and foremost, relationship with this moment through breath. You know, that's what Tantra is for me.
Yeah.
So,
and I often talk about breath, breathing, us. I mean, and I know that presence is really important for both of us, and
yeah.
And that's beautiful, to be able to hone it like that. I love that way. The idea that breath is our primary lover, absolutely divine. It's gorgeous, gorgeous way of looking.
Yeah, I mean, how often do we actually rest and take the awareness beneath the busyness into presence? Because presence has always been here and will always be here. And it's only just beneath the surface of the busyness, you know, and it doesn't take much to come underneath there. It takes a willingness to become fascinated with what is appearing right now. And then, have you ever actually inquired and allowed yourself to be loved by this, you know? Because actually yes, we can love this, and I encourage all of my students and clients to utterly love this breath and whatever is showing up in the body right now. And my journey through living with chronic pain has really taught me how to meet sensation in a very, very different way. But also I discovered that when I let go and let it have me completely, it was loving me. You know, it was loving me. And when I opened up to be loved by it and then loved it back, that just exploded my world. You know, it changed my entire perception of life.
Beautiful. And that idea of welcoming sensation, just being completely open, is really powerful, really powerful. And I know you've talked previously about you know, your work, welcoming everything, you know, not just the pleasure, but also welcoming discomfort. And you used a phrase when we had a previous conversation where you talked about your work taking people to a place where they can be story themselves.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could kind of delve into that a little bit for us, because I feel
Yeah.
it's linked here.
Oh, totally. I mean, we're not taught how to be in these bodies. We don't have a manual, you know, and schools don't teach us what we really need to do to be functional within the world. And one of the things that I see with clients and with everybody actually is one's reactivity to sensation, one's naming and judging of whatever goes on. I mean, if you ask anybody about their feelings, they will tell you a story. They won't tell you, oh, I've got a funny little tickling in my solar plexus and a buzzing in my heart, which is actually a feeling. You know, they'll tell you a who, a how, and a why, and all sorts of things. And that, so they will wrap the sensation up with a story. And what I do with my clients is we start to unwrap this. We start to actually go beyond the story into the actual sensation. And then we are directly in relationship with the sensation. And then what do we do with that sensation? You know, do we oppose it or do we receive it? Because all sensation in the body is life. Every sensation that we feel is always life appearing in our system, in this sensual system that we have. And we have two ways of meeting that. We either take it in, receive it, let it be beautiful for us, or we resist it, we oppose it, and we suffer. You know, it is literally black and white, that simple, actually. And I've seen this time and time again with myself, and time again with my clients. The hard bit is to let go of the story, is to let go of the who, the how, the why, and then actually to really come into a deep relationship with the sensation and discover which parts of you are enjoying and welcoming and which parts are actually resisting. And then to find a way and to choose to meet the pieces that you're resisting and take them in the same way that you would take in joy or beauty or wonder or love or something like that. And then when you can do that and breathe that in, the weight of this strength, or the strength of this feeling, is working inside of you, through you, rather than up against you. And it's never actually working up against you. It's you pushing up against it. It's just a big, strong energy in your body. So, yeah, it's a really key piece, which I call emotional alchemy. And when people get this, then it changes everything. But we are so ingrained in reaction rather than responsiveness, you know, that it's a well-trodden path, and we miss it, and we miss it, and we miss it, even when we know it, you know. And so what we have to do is consciously practice and play with these techniques and work out what mechanisms we have inside of ourselves when we feel pleasure, when we feel joy, and notice how we meet them and how we receive them, and then use those kind of procedures in when we feel something that we're not comfortable with or that we're in opposition with. And then we can use the same kind of way of meeting it with the places that we're in resistance to, and then that starts to change this whole thing. But we have to do it over and over again, you know, because however old we are, we've been conditioned that long.
Yeah.
So yeah.
As you were talking, I found myself going into my body and wondering about, there is discomfort, you know, there's chronic pain there.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, your way in was your way into breath was to deal with pain.
Yeah.
And it fascinates me that you can bring that awareness. It's really powerful to be able to go into the story around things. I'd be interested to know, because I'm, you know, I wonder what story there is attached to this stuff that I have, because I've lived with chronic pain for many years, and I never really knew where it came from. It just
Right.
it just started happening, and like many people, I think I just kind of ignored it. That was the way to deal, was just accept that, okay, this is how my body is. Develop that kind of loving relationship, that acceptance, and then you know, using breath awareness and physical awareness. That is such a powerful tool. Your work's
Yeah, it is.
amazing.
What I found with my pain is that when I felt pain, my mind would kind of block it as pain. I'd feel it in a general area. I'd feel the actual point of it, and I'd feel the general area, and I'd just carry on and just ignore it as much as I possibly could, you know, throughout my teens and all sorts of things. And then when I had this kind of this revolution inside of myself of awareness, I started to bring my intention up, or my intent focus into the pain, and actually realized that this big feeling is made up of millions of constantly changing sensations, you know, and actually quite a lot of them are really quite pleasurable. actually. There's heat, there's tingling, there's all sorts of things. But when my mind, when I come into the story of it being pain and me hurting, you know, then I suffer. But actually, if I bring my curiosity right into the center of it and bring a willingness to relax and feel and welcome whatever is there, and then I notice the pieces that I'm actually in resistance to, then I notice the pieces that I resist. And then that's where my work starts. You know, I have to come into a different relationship with this piece, with this sensation. And I first of all relax with it. I take my breath to it. I relax around it, and I just let it be there. And I bring my utter focus to it, and a willingness to really, really feel it. And often just really feeling it and staying with really feeling with it, without the need to change it. Often that just helps to soften it and melt it. Sometimes I need to take my breath in and really, really go into it more, you know. But most of the time, it softens it enough to be quite bearable, you know. So yeah.
And that is your fine-tuned, absolute pinpoint presence. It's presence there.
It is.
Yeah.
It takes time. It takes effort, you know. And in busy days, you know, sometimes you haven't got the time and effort to kind of keep doing it. So you just have to keep, for me, I just have to keep my awareness of softening and softening and softening, and just keeping my breath as long and as slow as I can. And I've actually found that with pain, long, slow, soft breathing, so really de-escalating the nervous system, is the best thing. When my nervous system is escalated, my pain generally is escalated, you know. So
yeah, it's absolutely related, isn't it?
yeah, totally. Yeah.
So Pete, I'm going to share that you and I met many moons ago through voice work, and
Yeah.
we did some training together on a kind of retreat, and so I know that voice is an important part of what you do too, and that you weave that in with your work with intimacy and breath, and of course, you know, breath is the foundation of voice. Would you like to explore that a little?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, this could go anywhere, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, first of all, yeah, breath, voice, singing, speaking, all of that is breathing. You know, it is pushing breath up through the voice box, and it's also wrapping that with emotional feeling, you know, which is incredible. And we are masters of doing this, you know. So I find that whenever we kind of need to let go and soften, using our voice, activating our voice, if we can, is a really, really powerful way of moving the emotional content, moving the weight of feeling in the body. And whether that be through just singing, through ahhing, through toning, through some kind of a cathartic emotional release, you know, that it moves the breathing, and it moves the energy. Although I've seen a lot of people get very addicted to cathartic release and actually can't live without their catharsis, and actually that kind of that misses the point a little bit, I think, you know. So but there are techniques that I teach with my breath work, diaphragmatic techniques that I find really, really. So I learned them through singing, but they work really, really well with breathing. And actually, there's a couple of breathing exercises that I learned from a singing teacher, and I teach all of my students this for breathwork, because what it does is it brings a really deep conscious awareness of the diaphragm. And when you have a conscious awareness of the diaphragm, when you're feeling your diaphragm move, you can't not be aware of your breath. you know. So I'd actually like to do a few little exercises with you.
That'd be great.
And this is just so that you can start to come into a deeper conscious awareness of your diaphragm. And if you did this every day, just a little bit, there's lots of things that this would do for you. It's going to tone your diaphragm. It's going to bring more awareness in there. It's going to start to strengthen your diaphragm. But also, another key piece within being human is embodiment. You know, we are here to be fully embodied, and the key kind of things that we need to be fully embodied are breath, sound, movement. You know, and using this exercise, we have to meet the part of ourselves that is self-conscious and that can sometimes feel ridiculous. You know, and let's face it, we're all ridiculous. Honestly, look at us all. We are all absolutely uniquely, beautifully, wonderfully ridiculous. And until we actually accept and celebrate our ridiculousness, you know, then we're going to be caught in this kind of having to be something, you know, having to get things right. But actually, when you just relax into that and let yourself just be this expression, however this expression comes out, then again, something else starts to show up in our system. So this practice is really, really good, especially in a big group, to meet your sense of ridiculousness.
Great.
Now,
we're going to sit. I'm going to unpin myself.
Okay. Okay, I'll be ridiculous on my own. I don't mind this. This is good. I'm used to it. So I'm going to invite you to sit up straight and tuck your chin in a little bit. And you're going to take a big breath in. Doesn't matter if it's through your nose or your mouth. And then you're going to follow me. We're going to make a vroom sound, and I'm going to move the vroom. And what I'd like you to do is drive the vroom from your diaphragm. Bring your awareness to your diaphragm. Now, if you're not sure where your diaphragm is, feel where your ribs come down to and push up and under there and just go woo, 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 woo. And you may feel it pushing your fingers out a little bit. So your diaphragm comes all the way around here. Okay. And I invite you to put the awareness in that space there. And let's take a breath in. And then we're going to, and you're just going to follow the pattern that I do. Okay. What did you notice there, Claire?
I definitely felt an awareness of my diaphragm, and because I have that singing background, it's quite familiar to me. And I wish we could do on Zoom what you can do in a room, because it's in a room of people together, that can be really powerful, I know.
Yeah.
And we'll all sound like, you know, cars that are over revving.
Absolutely, yeah.
First thing in the morning. But yeah, a real sense of activating the diaphragm really powerfully.
Now, some people when they're moving, they feel it in the front of their diaphragm. Some people feel it on the side, one side. Some people feel it in the back. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little exercise to see if we can actually start to consciously move and bring more awareness into different parts of the diaphragm. Have we got time for that? Yeah, cool. Okay, so we're going to be doing exactly the same thing. First of all, we're putting the awareness in the front of the diaphragm, just above the solar plexus, where the ribs stop, right up at the bottom of the ribs. Put your hand on there. Maybe tuck your fingers under your ribs if you can, a little bit at the front. Take a breath in. and you're going to be driving your vuv from that place. And as you vuv, you're going to vuv until you've got no breath left in your body. Okay, now the vuving will be different whether you've got a full breath or an empty breath, because the diaphragm, when we breathe in, the diaphragm comes down. So the diaphragm is stretched this way. When we're breathing out and when we're empty of breath, the diaphragm is stretched the opposite way. So we're actually stretching different parts of the diaphragm. So it's really good to do it on a full breath all the way through to an empty breath. Okay. Can I see a show of thumbs for those who've got their screens on? Could you feel that in the front of your diaphragm? Yeah. Okay. Right. We're going to move to the left-hand side. Great. So you can't really put your hand on your diaphragm, but you can put your hand on your ribs if you want. And then we're going to be driving the vuv from the left-hand side. Okay, so big breath in. Okay, could you feel that?
Gosh, yeah.
Some can, some can't, you know. I mean, everybody has a part of their diaphragm that they're kind of familiar with, and it's different for everyone. Most everyone anyway. Some people I have met who have no awareness of their diaphragm, and even when they're doing that, they can't actually feel anything happening, you know. So we're going to go across to the right hand side. Big breath in. And you're driving your vuv from the diaphragm of that side. Okay, now we're going to go to the back. Often, for most people, the back is the hardest one to feel the diaphragm. Okay, but let's try anyway. You can put your hands on the back if you want. You'll only feel your back muscles move. You won't feel your diaphragm, but really put the awareness in driving this vuv from the back of the diaphragm. Feel into where the diaphragm is there, and let's go. Okay, now we're just going to do a few rounds of vuving, and I want to invite you to put your awareness in the whole of the diaphragm. Imagine your diaphragm is like this, and there's a bullseye in the middle. Okay, see if you can drive your vuv from the bullseye coming all the way round, all the way out. So this bullseye is basically, if you look at your diaphragm, the bullseye will be the point where my fingers touch. And when we're vuving, what's actually happening is the diaphragm is like this, and your bullseye is going to be going woo, 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 woo. See if you can feel that movement in there. Okay. Now, as you're doing that, we're going to just bring awareness down into your pelvic floor, into your perineum, and just see if you can notice your pelvic floor and your perineum whilst you're doing this vuving. And you're still driving it from this bullseye point in your diaphragm. Okay, now close the eyes, take a few really big breaths, breathe right down into your belly. Really push your diaphragm down, breathe down into your belly, fill your belly, your low back, your low sides, right the way down into your pelvic floor, and then up into your chest. And just do a few full breaths, fully in and fully out. And just see if you can feel your diaphragm moving. And see if you can even drive your breath with your diaphragm. If you're breathing through your nose, do a few breaths through your mouth. If you're breathing through your mouth before, do a few breaths through your nose. Just see if you can notice the movement of this diaphragm whilst you're breathing, both through the nose and through the mouth. And what does it take to enjoy this breath? This breath is being offered to you by life. You are being loved through this breath. Can you let yourself be loved in this breath, by this breath? Okay, okay. I'd like to open up for some questions if you'd like to ask any questions about that, or questions or comments. So if you want to, just raise your hand and you can ask something in there.
Oh, if you can put your questions in the chat, I shall pass them on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Great. Okay, why don't you do that?
I have an observation that I don't think I've ever been able to feel into that bullseye at the middle, right in the center of the diaphragm, because the sensation of diaphragm for me has always been, you know, around the edges where it kind of connects. But yeah, that was really powerful to do that. I hope other people found that equally powerful, and you know, that often aware of sort of visualizing the dome and that kind of action, but pinpointing the middle is really powerful. Thank you.
Great, great. Yeah, I mean, there's lots that I could say about the diaphragm. So much, you know, there's so many things, so many little nuances that we can actually, when we start to really explore it in a different way, our awareness of our breathing changes. And when our awareness of our breathing changes, our breathing changes. Yeah. Okay. Any questions then?
Well, I know
I
that
can see people typing.
I know people are intrigued by this, and I know you've also got another practical practice that you might share with us.
Yeah, I've definitely got other practices that we can go through. I mean, there is something else that I'd like to share with you about the diaphragm, which is an absolute game changer. Okay, so I have a lot of stuck emotion in my gut area. Are there any particular practices you can share? Yeah, absolutely. What I would do is I would get a cushion. Or have you seen these little 7-inch Pilates balls? You can blow them up, or you can blow them up to about 7 inches, or you can have them quite small. What I do, if I have a emotional tension in my gut, what I do is I blow one of these balls up to just under half full, and I lay on it face down, lay on it, put that in my belly, and then I breathe fully and deeply. And I do some conscious connected breath work with that. You will need to adjust the amount of air in it, so the size that the ball is, so that it really gets in and around everywhere. You want it to be kind of like a squash pancake with enough pressure in there, so that it gets in and under here. And then do some conscious connected breathing and really soften into it. Really welcome the sensation. Notice where and how you oppose the feelings, because whenever there's pain, whenever there's discomfort, we withdraw from it and we push it away. And what we have to do is soften and relax into it, let ourselves fully feel it, and feel it as life, because it is life, and become curious with it, and let yourself fall into it, and let yourself receive the actual sensation, and keep breathing with it. Don't breathe with it to change it. Breathe with it to have it. If it is in you, it is for you. This is the most important statement I will ever say. If it is in you, it is for you. You know, so receive it. Discover how you can meet this and welcome this, and see what it would take inside of you to enjoy this. Okay. And that's been my journey with chronic pain, you know, learning how to enjoy what is here. And that takes us through so many mind games that we've learned to play, you know, and so many habitual ways of thinking that we've picked up. Because when we feel something, and when something happens to us, the reaction is just what we've learned. We don't really question the reaction. It's just how we are, you know. But actually, we need to start questioning where these reactions came from initially, you know, and actually put them to the side, meet them and welcome them, and really soften. And yeah, we build a different relationship to it. And when we relax with tension, you know, and when we relax around tension, something else happens. The tension is there because it's going, oi, you, listen to me, you know. And if we just ignore it, you know, it's going to have to scream louder at the end of the day. So life is always on our side. So, yeah. Okay.
What's coming up for me is that, you know, resistance is futile kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
The more you ignore, the bigger it will become as a.
Yeah, that's true. And the more of a thorn in our side it becomes, until at some point we choose to stop fighting it, you know. So yeah,
we go into that path of dis-ease.
Well, it's dis-ease, and that's all it is. It's dis-ease, you know. And we can find ease in it most of the time, you know, and we can certainly de-escalate the size of it, you know. Someone's also asked a question about saying that their breath is shallow a lot, and that it impacts on their body, making them feel anxious. Yeah, absolutely. When the breath is shallow, one will be anxious. It's simple as that. The invitation is to bring your awareness right down to your pelvic floor, right down to your perineum, and breathe right down to your perineum. Now, of course, your lungs don't go down to your perineum, okay? Your lungs don't go down that far. But as you breathe in, the more you belly breathe, the more you breathe down into your abdomen, the more you start to stretch your diaphragm down, the more that puts pressure on the organs in there, and the more that pushes into the pelvic floor. The more you do that, the deeper your breathing becomes. It starts massaging your organs. It does all sorts of other things. It puts a little bit of pressure in the psoas muscle, which is our main fight or flight muscle. And yeah, and there's so much that it does just by breathing deeper and deeper, but also slow your breathing down. So breathe really down deep and then up high. Okay, it takes practice. If we are a habitual shallow chest breather, we need to learn through repetition to breathe deeply down into our belly. And when I say belly, I mean front of the belly, sides of the belly, back of the belly. It's not just all front breathing. A lot of people do a lot of front breathing. So explore front breathing, side breathing, lateral breathing, as it's called, back breathing, all the way down to the pelvic floor, all the way up to the crown of the head. And when you can slow your breathing down and really feel that movement all the way through your body, as we breathe in, basically, if you imagine your pelvic floor is here and your crown is here, as we breathe in, when we're breathing properly, there is an expansion happens. There's a lengthening that happens. And then as we breathe out, There's a gentle contraction that happens. So bring your awareness to the crown and to the pelvic floor. As you breathe in, you fill your belly first. And it's a bit like filling a jug or filling a glass. It fills from the bottom up. You pour it in the top, but it fills from the bottom up. Fill yourself from the bottom up all the way. And then let go. And then breathe out all of the way. And when you start to do this, you will start to repattern the way in which your nervous system works, and especially the longer you start to explore your inhalation and your exhalation. And my kind of, when I was doing a lot of really slow breathing, I got to the point where I could breathe in for a minute and out for a minute. And that feels a hell of a long time, actually. It was when I was doing a lot of my version of Wim Hof, where I got my breath holds up to 7 minutes 47, which was my longest breath hold. I don't push myself to those limits anymore. I don't feel the need to, but I had something that I wanted to prove to myself, and yeah, and it really reconditioned the way in which I do things. So slow your breathing down, deepen your breathing, take it into the places it's not used to going, like the sides, like the back, especially the back of the heart. It's amazing when we do this, and when we breathe like this, the chemicals of stress just don't get pumped out. We de-escalate our nervous system. We pop into parasympathetic nervous system. So we have sympathetic nervous system, which is like the gas pedal, and parasympathetic, which is the brake, and most of the time we've got the gas going low level all the time, and we're constantly on the lookout for something else to stress us. That's what we've kind of learned. We're constantly in this slightly aroused state. When we need to put our foot on the brake, we do some long, slow breathing. But actually, what I've discovered, if I'm in a really adrenalized state, if it's an emotional trigger, or if it's something that shocked me or scared me, the best thing that works for me is to activate my system before deactivating my system. So do some big, fast breathing, and whether it's mouth breathing or whether it's nose breathing, big, fast breathing for a few breaths, which matches the intensity of the feelings in your body, and then do some long, slow breaths, really long, slow breaths, and soften and let everything slow down in the body. And you may do that a few times. So it's like you kind of escalate and then de-escalate, and then you escalate and de-escalate and escalate and de-escalate, and you kind of go on this wave, and your nervous system goes on this wave until you're utterly peaceful, and actually that wave is much faster. If you were just to do long, slow breathing, you'd slowly, but you wouldn't get to the same level as you had done before for a long time. So, yeah.
Great. This is absolute gold. Thank you, Pete.
I've just got excited suddenly. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, this is the Inspiration Festival. This is all inspiring. It's great.
Yeah.
So, do you have another practice to share with us?
Yeah. How long have we got?
Oh, we've got another at least 20 minutes.
Okay, great. Yeah.
20, yeah. 23, 24.
Okay. Let me just have a quick look at what I wanted to share as well. Oh, there is one thing. There is a myth that I have to bust on here. Okay. There is a huge amount of information being flooded on the breathing market, or in the breathing space, around nose breathing and mouth breathing. Okay. And mouth breathing not facilitating nitric oxide. Okay. And I want to bust this myth right now. I'd like to put you to put your finger under your nose, and so it's touching your nostrils. Take some big breaths in and out through your mouth, and push your finger so that it's just about closing your nostrils, and take some big breaths through the mouth, sorry. Open your throat and breathe through your mouth. can you feel that there is a pull in your nostrils? Play with where your finger is. And you might have to change the position of your finger a little bit. And you will find a position where when you're breathing through your mouth, you can feel there's a little pull, there's a little tension happens in the nostrils. It happens with most people. Most people, when they mouth breathe, they nose breathe at the same time. Most people breathe through both at the same time. Okay. So we get nitric oxide coming up when we are mouth breathing. You have to consciously close the back of your throat to stop that happening. You know, so there's a lot of things going on about you get 20% more oxygen nose breathing than mouth breathing. I often breathe with a little meter on my finger. My sats are up to 99.9. I can't get 20% more oxygen, and I'm a mouth breather. But there are ways of mouth breathing that are really, really healthy, really super healthy. We wouldn't have a bigger hole there than we do here. Nature doesn't make those mistakes, honestly, but there is a time and a place for everything. You know, most of the time, breathing through the nose is highly effective and is the best way. You know, you get more nitric oxide for sure. You filter it, you warm it, you get so many benefits of it. But there are times when everybody needs to mouth breathe. Nose breathing is really, really good at bringing mental and conscious control and take us into trance states. Mouth breathing brings us into emotional feeling. It brings us into our emotional body, our physical body. It's a much more embodied state. And when we are dealing with emotional energy, if we need to put a cap on it and we can't, and we're in a space where we can't go into an emotional release, nose breathe. You know, if you need to really feel and get in and just move it around, mouth breathing is your friend for that. So yeah. For PTSD, again, long, soft, slow breathing. And what I find, I have had PTSD before, and the thing that we just did with the plateauing as well, when one is in a reaction, plateau it, take it up and then take it right down, take it up and then take it right down. So first of all, match the intensity with your breath, and whether that's full fast breathing, like you probably won't be able to do that for very long. You'll probably get dizzy, but you only need like 5 or 6 breaths, and then long, slow breaths, and then again, and then down again, you know. Or if you find that is too escalating for you, there's a breath, the Sufi breath. Again, it escalates the system, but not in the same way. You know, when you're mouth breathing, it escalates it and it moves a lot more emotional energy. When you're nose breathing, it escalates it, but in a more controlled way. And then just take it down with the long, slow breathing. So, yeah. Okay.
Thank you for busting that myth.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, you're not going to get the same amount of nitric oxide, but there is still nitric oxide. You are still getting a lot of benefit through mouth breathing. You know, the benefits of mouth breathing haven't actually been really tapped yet. I know Wim Hof's getting a lot of stuff done with his work, and some of his work is absolutely incredible. He's changing lives all over the planet, you know.
And conscious connected breath is an open
absolutely. And conscious connected breath work, my God, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. It's certainly utterly transformed my life and the lives of so many people I know. So yeah, in fact, I would say that everybody who comes into conscious connected breath work of some kind will notice a difference. You will notice transformation. And again, there are so many different kinds of conscious connected breath work. You know, the one that I teach in Bulletproof Breathwork is what I perceive as the fullest breath that we can actually make, the fullest breath that we can make with the least amount of effort. And I'll teach it now, and then we'll do a little breathing practice with it. So let's just take a full breath in through the mouth, and then take a little bit more in. Hold the breath, wriggle and shake a little bit, make a bit of space, take a bit more breath in. Okay, can you feel your diaphragm stretched? And then let go. That let go, okay, you didn't breathe out, you just let go, because it's a bit like a balloon. When you blow up a balloon, you don't have to push the air out of it. The elasticity of the balloon pushes the breath out. That's exactly what happened there. Okay, so as you breathe in, your diaphragm is stretching down, 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 and your ribs are flaring. All of those muscles are stretching, and then you let go. It pops back to its still point. Okay, so let's try that once more. Let's just bring that into the awareness. Full breath in. And let go. Okay, beautiful. So that's where most people take their conscious connected breath. Breathing in and let go. And then breathing in and let go. But when you let go, you've still got at least a third, sometimes a half of your lungs full of breath. Okay, this is where a lot of the stagnant stuff gets, you know. So let's take a breath in and then let go. And now breathe out. Empty, empty, empty. Wriggle it all out. Hold the breath. Hold the breath and sit up. Can you feel that tension in your diaphragm? Feel it? Let go. Again, you didn't breathe in. The diaphragm popping back to its still point and the breathing muscles popping back to the still point sucks air in. So what we have, or what we can have in a full breath, is a filling, a release, an emptying, and a release, where the breath rushes back in. So we have two places within the breath that are passive. And what that does is we have the main movement muscle in the body, the psoas muscle. It's known as the soul muscle. It's known as the spirit muscle. It's the main fight or flight muscle. It's the first muscle that was grown in our embryology, apparently. That comes up through the diaphragm. Okay, and when we do this little release, both at the top of the breath and the bottom of the breath, it puts this wave of relaxation through the psoas muscle, telling the psoas muscle that we're safe. And the psoas muscle then tells the rest of the body that we're safe. So when we're breathing fully in, release, fully out, release, you know, we're telling our body that we are safe twice in one breath, twice in one breath. So we're going to play a couple of tracks. Well, maybe just one track. We'll go for one track and then see what time we have. And
you've got about 10.
Got about 10 minutes. Okay. Right. Well, we'll explore this one and then just do a few questions. So, oh, is that not playing anything? Why is that not playing anything? Oh, okay. I will play it elsewhere. I think someone's hijacking my Spotify on another phone. So whilst I'm doing this, I invite you to put your awareness in your breath, fill yourself with breath, then release, and then empty yourself, and then release. And just explore the mechanism of filling, releasing, emptying, and releasing while I'm finding this music. Filling yourself, releasing, emptying yourself, and releasing. And choosing to welcome this breath, choosing to enjoy this breath. Just checking that the music's coming through. Yeah, great. And now I invite you to breathe out all the way. Breathe out all the way. Empty, 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 and hold your breath. And release in. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, and in. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, and in. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4, and in. 2, 3, 4, and out. 2, 3, 4. And just keep that breath going. And keep the release at the top of the breath and the release at the bottom of the breath. Let the mouth hang open, let the jaw be soft, the tongue be soft, and let the breath come through the mouth. Soften your throat. The throat is not doing the breathing. The throat is an open passageway for the breath to flow through. And welcome your breath. What does it take to enjoy this breath? What does it take to love this breath? Close the eyes, put the awareness purely in your body. This is your own little private party. You and your breath. Exploring, filling, releasing, emptying, and releasing. And as you fill, you are taking in life. Let it be beautiful, let it be magical, because it is magic animating your body. How beautiful will you allow yourself to feel? Really find a deeper yes to this. A yes to sensation, a yes to life, a yes to your breath. You're breathing in beat. You're breathing fully in, you're releasing, you're breathing fully out, and you're releasing. And you're letting this be absolutely beautiful for you. We are the meaning makers in our life. Let's put the meaning of this being magnificent in there. Receiving your breath, enjoying your breath, refining your breath, taking it into the front, the sides, the back of the body. Feel an expansion happen through you as you breathe in, and a consolidation happen as you breathe out. And bring your awareness to space beyond you. We live in infinite space, and we are breathing space. Breathing space into the body. And then letting go of this breathing in this way, and just letting your breath come and go however the breath wants to come and go. Awareness in breath. Choosing to enjoy this. This is always our choice. Be fascinated by being this.
Wonderful, Pete. Thank you so much for that. We're coming towards the end of our session with you, and that practice was absolutely on topic. So inspiring for Inspiration Festival, but also expansive, and that is the theme of this Inspiration Festival. So that's absolute genius. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to
Can I,
draw,
can I just say something about that?
yeah,
We all mostly play music, you know, so breathing in beat to music is an utter game changer again, you know. No matter what music we're listening to, if we're breathing in beat to it, we're conscious, aware of our breathing. We're often connecting our breathing. You know, I teach this in ecstatic dance. We go ecstatic dancing, and we even go raving nowadays. And I use my breath to fuel myself and to take myself into ecstatic places when I'm out dancing. You know, can I just speak into this conscious connected breathing being too activating? You have to learn to modulate it. You have to learn to know when you're becoming too activated, and just soften the breath, and doing breathing in beat slowly is really, really good to learn to modulate that, you know. And because if you're breathing to a 4/4 beat, you can breathe really slow to a 4 beat. You can breathe in 2, 3, 4, or in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. You know, you can modulate and you can play with it. So only you can master your breathing. You know, play with it, explore it, and become fascinated with it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
thank you, Pete. And yeah, I think that most of my experience of conscious connected breathwork has been with music to support, and I use it in that way. The beat is there, and it's a metronome, and it holds us in the breath. It really supportive. Thank you. Great. To round things off, this is Inspiration Festival, and do you have any final words of inspiration to offer us?
I've said them before in here, you know, we are the meaning makers in our life. We choose how we feel, you know, and it's all wrapped up in what story we put on this sensation of this moment, you know. Choose a better story, you know, let go of the story, become fascinated with the actual sensations in the body. Notice where you welcome and notice where you oppose them. And where you oppose them is your key. That is where your work is, you know. So learn how to welcome and enjoy every sensation, you know, because if it is in you, if you feel it, it is yours. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Pete Warnock. This has been a beautiful session, and thank you very much for joining, for sharing so much of your wisdom and enthusiasm for the breath.
Thank you.
Such depth, such a pleasure.
I mean, that's why I created Naturally Ecstatic, which is my business, you know. Naturally Ecstatic. We are all naturally ecstatic, just beneath the busyness, you know, all of us. Yeah.
So do you have an offer coming up for people that we might be able to sign up for or join in?
Yeah. I have made an offer for people on the Inspiration Festival for £70 off my online course. So I think you get it for £280, which is so Bulletproof Breathwork Training. It's a 4-month course. It was a 12-month course, but people found that the length too long, so I've cut it down to 1 round rather than 3 rounds. And it is sort of 45 videos, 50 audios of how to retrain the way in which you think, feel, and breathe. It transforms every area of your breathing, every area of your perception, every area of the way in which you think and feel. So it's a complete embodiment transformation program. So if you want to use that, there is Inspiration 70 capital I. I know that you guys have got that code, so if you want to share that, that would be great. And you can just go to my Naturally Ecstatic site and look on my online courses, and it's bulletproof breathwork. So, and it's fantastic. I know I say it, but I mean it is. I've seen so many people have such incredible experiences because of the depth, the simplicity and the depth. I cut things up into tiny little pieces, you know. So, yeah.
Thank you.
It's Inspiration 70, capital I, Inspiration 70, but it will be in the info that gets sent out. So, hey, thank you. It's been a real pleasure. My God, yeah, always is.
Super, and great to see you again. Hope we'll see you
Lovely.
at another Inspiration Festival.
Oh, you will. Yeah, absolutely. There's
Future.
always more inspiration.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you, everybody.
you are your own inspiration, you know. You have to choose it. Yeah. Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.